And good afternoon, everybody. A little more, come on, a little more energy. Anyway, it's my pleasure this afternoon to be able to introduce today the Honorable Natalie Hudson, Chief Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court. Chief Justice Hudson first joined Minnesota Supreme Court in 2015 and has served as Chief Justice since 2023. Prior to her appointment to the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Hudson served on the Minnesota Court of Appeals from 2002 to 2015. Before becoming a judge, though, she worked in private practice. She served in the office of the Minnesota Attorney General. She served as an attorney for the city of St. Paul and as an assistant dean to the student affairs at Hamline University School of Law. But more importantly, Chief Justice Hudson began her legal career at Smurls. She is an active member of the Organized Bar Association. She serves on the advisory board of the Minnesota Women Lawyers Association, the Minnesota Association of Black Lawyers, and the Minnesota Association of Black Women Lawyers. She told me to keep this short, but I can't do it, I guess. She also served on the Implementation Committee on Multicultural Diversity and Racial Fairness in the courts and the Minnesota Supreme Court's Racial Bias Task Force and the Minnesota Legal Services Planning Committee. And there's one more thing I'd like to have you know. When Chief Justice Hudson was at Smurls, I started at Smurls the month before she left. So she and I were both housing attorneys at the same time at Smurls. I took her place, and then she went on to do all these wonderful things that I just mentioned. So she's been my close personal friend for many, many years, and I just wanted you all to know that she came from Smurls and how our paths crossed that early on in our careers. So it's my pleasure at this time to introduce Chief Justice Natalie Hudson.
Thank you, Jesse. You know, Mr. Levi was kind of on the edge of suggesting you were old. But he knows you. Okay, Jesse said he knows that she is. But I'm older than her. Yes, and so, because as she said, she took my place at Smurl, so I was already there. And so I'm older than you, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Thank you, Jesse, for that warm welcome. And I am honored to be here today and to serve as Chief Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court. It is just a privilege to be here with all of you at this very, very important event and to join such a distinguished group of leaders and professionals. And I extend my sincere gratitude to the Legal Services Corporation for organizing this forum and for its unwavering commitment to protecting the promise of justice to all Americans. And as we gather here today, we are surrounded by esteemed judges, dedicated attorneys, and passionate leaders and stakeholders from the civil legal aid community. Your collective efforts are crucial in our shared mission to close the justice gap and ensure that every individual, regardless of their income, has access to the legal resources that they need. And today, as you've heard, we celebrate a significant milestone, the 50th anniversary of the Legal Services Corporation. And this anniversary is not just a marker of time, but a testament to the profound impact that LSC has had on countless lives, delivering justice and hope to those who need it most. Indeed, since its inception, LSC has stood as the largest single funder of civil legal aid for low-income Americans, ensuring that the promise of equal justice under the law is not just a lofty ideal, but a living reality for millions of people. Over the past, somebody was about to clap. That is worth a clap. Over the past 5 decades, LSE has provided vital legal assistance to those facing some of the most challenging circumstances imaginable, whether it's helping a family keep their home, ensuring a veteran receives the benefits that they've earned, or protecting individuals from domestic violence. The work of LSE has had life-changing impacts across the nation. But despite these remarkable achievements, our work is far from over, and Mr. Levi alluded to some of these statistics. Today, we still face a significant justice gap. I would say it's a chasm. We know that 92% of the legal needs of low-income Americans are not being met, and it is a reminder that our efforts must continue with renewed vigor and determination. America was founded on the promise of equal justice for all, yet this promise is shattered when people are powerless to actually exercise those rights. LSE's mission to protect this promise is more crucial than ever, and it is incumbent upon all of us to support and sustain this mission. I must tell you, as Jesse already alluded to, civil legal aid has always held a special place in my heart. My journey in the legal profession began in 1982, before Jesse, as a staff attorney with one of our local civil legal aid organizations, Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services, which we affectionately here in Minnesota call SMIRLS. During those early years, I had the privilege of representing indigent clients in housing matters. And this role was not just a job for me, it was an opportunity to ensure that even the most vulnerable members of our community had equal access to justice and to ensure that their rights were upheld by our justice system. In fact, for me, working at SMIRLS was a transformative experience. It opened my eyes to the profound barriers that low-income individuals face when navigating the legal system. It opened my eyes to the way our complex legal system sometimes robs those on the margins of their very dignity and humanity. Most of all, it taught me the importance of strong advocacy and the impact that dedicated legal assistance can have on someone's life. Ensuring access to the courts for those who would otherwise be voiceless became a guiding principle in my career and has stayed with me throughout my career and instilled in me a lifelong commitment to fairness, to equity, and to justice for all. And I am not alone in that commitment. In Minnesota, we are fortunate to have a robust civil legal aid system, and I'm proud to be a part of a state that prioritizes the needs of its most vulnerable citizens. In many ways, Minnesota is a national leader in the delivery of civil legal services, though we are far from the ultimate goal of closing the civil justice gap, even here in Minnesota. During the rest of my time here, I'm going to highlight just 3 key factors that I think have made Minnesota a national leader in this area, and some of the efforts that we currently have underway to ensure that equal access to justice in our state continues to be a reality. The first of those factors is a long-standing, bipartisan, whole-of-government support for civil legal aid in the state of Minnesota. Minnesota's commitment to civil legal aid dates back to 1982, when the state first began providing funding to support these essential services. Today, state legislative funding remains by far the largest source of financial support for our civil legal aid institutions. We are especially grateful for the major commitment our state legislature made in 2023 when lawmakers made a historic investment to support civil legal services. In a single legislative session, we witnessed state funding for civil legal aid increase by more than 80%. The primary focus of this funding was to address salary disparities, to reduce turnover, and build capacity within our legal aid organizations. And we are already starting to see the impact of that investment. Turnover rates among civil legal aid attorneys have fallen significantly, as higher wages have made these positions more attractive and more sustainable for people. Additionally, we've been able to add nearly 50 full-time employees across the state, significantly enhancing our ability to meet the legal needs of low-income Minnesotans. The second key factor is the steadfast backing of the Minnesota Supreme Court. And I just want to say thank you to, I see several of my colleagues here from the court, Justice Procaccini, Justice Moore, and Justice Hennessy. And I know that I speak for the entire court when I say this is a court and has been a court for many years, not just the current court, but has been a court that has stood behind the efforts of civil legal aid and has championed those efforts and tried to do its best to make sure that all Minnesotans have a place at the table. And so for decades, as I said, our court has taken decisive steps to ensure that civil legal organizations can operate efficiently and effectively. Recently, our court led a multi-year effort to ensure that all legal aid programs receiving state funds participate in a coordinated intake system. This means that potential legal aid clients no longer need to research or spend hours on the phone trying to figure out where do I go, how do I find help, where's the nearest office to me. We got rid of that through the hard work of many, many people. And now there is a single toll-free phone number and an online system that people can access that automatically connects them with their local civil legal aid provider. And then going back even to 2018, the court expanded access to online court records and information so that our state legal services providers could register to use a tool that we call Minnesota Government Access, which is the same online tool that our prosecutors and public defenders have access to. And that way they are able to access court records. And this expanded access to online records has facilitated more effective legal representation for legal aid clients. And the third key factor is the unprecedented partnership between our civil legal aid providers and the state's court system. The strength of that partnership was demonstrated over the past several years as our court, like many courts around the country, navigated the COVID-19 pandemic and transitioned much of our work to online courts. During the pandemic, our courts moved the vast majority of our hearings to online courtrooms in order to keep our judges and employees and court users safe. While that transition was, of course, born out of necessity, it quickly became clear that the people we served appreciated the ease and the convenience of remote hearings. Over and over, court users told us that this hybrid approach increased access to justice by reducing the many barriers that arise to attending court hearings in person, such as travel time and parking costs, the need to take time off from work or to find childcare. And as a result, just last week, the Minnesota Judicial Council, which is our governing policymaking body here in Minnesota, permanently adopted this hybrid online/in-person approach. And this new approach has been particularly beneficial for our civil legal aid providers, especially in rural Minnesota, who can now serve a wider range of court users and a broader swath of the state. And perhaps the best and most impactful example of this can be seen in our rural housing courts. For many years, our largest urban counties in Minnesota, they've had these dedicated housing court calendars. And that allowed civil legal aid organizations here in the metro area to be on site during the housing court hearings, and therefore able to serve a wide swath of individuals. And prior to the pandemic, though, when virtually all of our hearings were in person, that same model wasn't possible when you get what we call outstate. Anything outside of the metro area here is called outstate. But that wasn't possible for them because you had situations where housing cases were being heard in a courthouse, but that courthouse might be miles away. And sometimes the hearings were hours apart. And as a result, civil legal aid attorneys would spend 2 or 3 hours driving to a rural courthouse to provide representation. But with the transition to remote hearings for many of these housing court matters, many rural judicial districts have established dedicated online housing court calendars where they hear a large number of housing cases on the same calendar in the same online courtroom. This allows a single legal aid attorney to represent many different clients across many different counties on the same day without ever leaving their office. One of the things that's been reported to us from civil legal aid offices is that this multi-county calendaring with online hearings, and I will quote, has been the most impactful access to justice innovation in a generation, expanding legal representation in rural Minnesota. And when I heard that, I was just delighted, because that's what we want to see. We want to make sure that no matter where you are in the state of Minnesota, you have the same access to justice. And in conjunction with our transition to online hearings, our legal aid organizations have also been working to bridge the digital divide for self-represented litigants to ensure that they can efficiently and effectively access online court services. During the pandemic, the Minnesota Legal Services Coalition used federal CARES Act money to create a statewide network of more than 250 legal kiosks. And these kiosks are stationed in various various court, agency, and nonprofit and community locations around the state, providing Minnesotans with the technology they need to interact with civil legal experts. They also offer a space for individuals to attend online court hearings if they lack the necessary technology at home. We also operate a statewide self-help center that assists self-represented litigants by phone and by email, and we have several walk-in self-help centers in our high-traffic courthouses. And there are a number of other efforts that I don't have time to go into today, but we are making and working on this effort, and we are making progress. Another important effort underway in Minnesota that aims to close our civil justice gap is our Legal Paraprofessional Pilot Project. And we are so proud of this at the court. It was an initiative that was started by my predecessor, former Chief Justice Lori Gilday. Not started by Chief Justice Gilday, but when the idea came to us, the then chief said, we need to do this. And this was a court that got on board immediately and said, yes, we do. We need to be involved in empowering paraprofessionals to help bridge that justice gap. And it is something that on my watch we are going to continue, and the court is fully supportive of. It's an initiative that allows legal paraprofessionals under the supervision of a licensed attorney to provide legal advice and in some cases represent clients in landlord-tenant disputes and family law matters, and potentially we're looking at expanding it to some other legal matters. You're going to be hearing from a panel a little bit later today, and so on this issue, and so I won't go into it in detail here, but the court is very proud of the work that's being done in this pilot project, and we hope to turn it into a permanent project. Finally, let me just say that Minnesota would not be the national leader that it is without the incredible and dedicated attorneys and staff we have serving in our regional civil legal services offices, providing wise counsel and vigorous representation to Minnesotans facing some of the most difficult moments of their lives. Your work is truly essential to the cause of justice in this state, and I thank you. As we reflect on this great progress in Minnesota, again, we know that our work is not complete. Right now, even in Minnesota, there is one private attorney for every 203 Minnesotans who are above our state legal aid guidelines. In stark contrast, there is only one legal aid attorney for every 5,564 Minnesotans below those guidelines. Put another way, if you filled up US Bank Stadium, and for those of you from out of town, you might have passed it, that's our NFL stadium where the Vikings play. If you filled up US Bank Stadium, there would be just 12 attorneys available to meet the pressing needs of every single person sitting in that stadium. Statewide, our civil legal aid organizations are still turning away more than 40% of eligible clients with meritorious cases. They're turning them away due to lack of resources, which speaks to Mr. Levi's point about needing additional funding for LSC. And that's why we continue to fight. That is why we remain steadfast in our struggle for critical funding for our civil legal aid organizations at our state capital, and I hope at your state capitals, wherever you might be from. That is why we are here today to support the work of the Legal Services Corporation, which strives to secure the federal funding that it needs to address this nation's civil justice gap. And so with that, I extend my deepest gratitude to our state legal aid organizations. These are just some amazing people who give up so much and who dedicate so much of their lives to this important work. And I also extend my deepest gratitude to LSC for its pivotal role in supporting these efforts. Together, we are making a real difference in the lives of those in need. We must continue to push forward, driven by the belief that equal access to justice is a fundamental right. Thank you once again to the Legal Services Corporation for hosting this forum, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. Together, we will continue this work towards closing this justice gap and ensuring that the promise of equal justice for all becomes a reality. Thank you.